Hello, everyone. My name is Brandon Bailey, and this is another episode of Take Your Shot. I'm here with my co-host,
JP. You know who I am.
and today we have a special guest with us today. He works for the SacBee. I got to spend a lot of time with him when I was on the beat writing for the football team this past semester. And, let's introduce yourself.
That's me. It's Cameron Salerno. I work at the Sacramento Bee. Appreciate you guys having me on. And it's going to be really fun.
Yeah, man. Well, I guess we just want to start off, man. Just, I got to learn a lot just, observing you, like I said, this past semester, just watching how you work. But I was always interested, like, how did your journey into journalism begin? What made you want to get into journalism? And how has that journey been so far for you?
Yeah, I've always wanted to go into sports. Who doesn't? Watching sports is the best thing ever. And you get to do it as a job. You get paid for it. It's pretty cool. My journey started when I was 15 and a half. I was a sophomore at Wood Creek High School, and I got the opportunity to be an intern at the Roseville Press Tribune. So I covered a lot of Wood Creek sports, covered a lot of Granite Bay sports, mostly Placer County stuff. I mostly did football, basketball, baseball. And, it was a really cool experience because not a lot of people were doing that at my age, and it kind of really opened my eyes. And it was also kind of scary, too, because I didn't really have someone to lean on when I was doing this. Obviously, I had great mentors growing up. My boss, Stephen Wilson, was awesome, and he helped really guide me through the process. But, I wasn't taking any classes on this. I wasn't really talking to people my age about it. And so for me, my kind of mission now is to give back and give people the opportunity to say, hey, it's okay to go into this. And I know this is a very competitive industry, but at the same time, we need people like myself who will give back to others and will help them guide them through the process. I've had the opportunity to speak at 12 high schools in Sacramento about my journalism career. I got to speak to hundreds of students, and I always make myself available because, I want to be that person to help if they need it and have that guidance because I know how important it is. And so I think it's pretty cool. I think I have the best job in the world because at the same time, like I said, I'm covering sports. I'm getting paid to do so. And obviously interacting with the people and getting to know them, I think is the best part. With either media people or players, coaches, those relationships you form, I think are going to really carry on for a lifetime.
Cam, it seems like, I follow you on Twitter. I see all your coverage. You're kind of all over the place, man. Like, what's your favorite thing to cover? Because I know you hop between prep sports. You've also covered the Niners a little bit. You cover the Kings a little bit. Like, what's your favorite thing to cover so far?
Yeah, it's kind of funny you say that because when I really got started, I always had the impression I wanted to do preps forever. And then one day, my editor at the Sacramento Bee said, hey, would you ever interest covering the 49ers? And, of course, I said yes because, that's the team I grew up watching. Obviously, who wouldn't want to cover the NFL? And so it really – I'll never forget the second I walked into the stadium and kind of sat down in my press seat, it opened my eyes and I said, yeah, I think I want to reevaluate what I thought before. And I have some funny stories over the last 2.5 years covering sports I'll get into later. But I just thought – I would say probably covering football is the best. Prep football around here is pretty awesome, but nothing beats the 49ers. I had the chance to cover them during their NFC Championship run 2 years ago, and that was just an unforgettable experience. And obviously, I've done a lot of things at the Bee. I've kind of done everything. I joke I'm the Swiss Army knife. I cover preps. I cover college sports. I cover NFL sport or professional sports. So I think it's pretty cool. I like doing everything, and doing a little bit of everything really makes you versatile and helps out in the long run.
What's your I don't know if you have one, but what's your favorite moment that you witnessed while covering a game so far in your career?
I know this sounds so cliche, and I know when you ask a famous person or someone hey, talk about your signature moment. I've said this a million times, but it's covering the NFC Championship game because seeing just the magic of a team going to the Super Bowl, and obviously it's the team you grew up watching, I think that just was the most amazing experience I've ever had. It just really made me realize this is cool, this is awesome, I want more of this. And so I think that was probably the coolest experience I've ever had in my life.
Well, I'm just curious too, because obviously you mentioned the 49ers are the team you grew up watching. does it add like something? Is it like extra special because you're covering the team
Oh,
obviously
yeah.
that you grew up watching?
mean,
like, what is that like? Because I'm just curious.
I mean, it's amazing. I think for me, I grew up going to 49ers games, and I think everyone kind of like has a dream. Oh, it'd be cool to cover a game here like one day, and I think everyone says that. But to actually experience and do it, and not just do it once, but do it multiple times and do marquee games, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, I've covered primetime games. I've covered games on Sunday Night Football. I've covered playoff games. I mean, I've done the whole 9 yards. The only thing missing is Super Bowl. Covering that, I mean, that's, I think, my dream. And I know I'm going to achieve it one day. But, yeah, I mean, those experiences are amazing. And they're just stuff that I think just makes it all worth it, you know?
Talk to me about the difference between, like you said, you got to cover two of your teams that you've watched your whole life, between the Kings and the Niners, right? One team is on the winning scale while the other team has been on the, the downside for a couple of years. Talk to me about the difference in covering each team, and like.
Well, it sucks covering a team that is not good. I mean, I'm not on the Kings beat at all, so I'm only covering a few games. So I don't really have that whole experience of covering a bad team every single night.
Yeah,
I think that'd really make me depressed as a person. I mean, I have the luxury of being able to turn off the game if I don't want to watch it anymore. And I mean, I think the Kings are on the ups. Like, I mean, I don't know. We'll talk about the Kings later.
I think last question I have is, if there's any tips you can give out there to young aspiring journalists, what would it be?
Oh, yeah. I mean, first off, you want to communicate as much as you can. You want to reach out to people people you admire in this industry. I mean, it might be someone local, it might be someone national. I think that's the first step, because you have to build those relationships. And I think you guys know it too. Networking in this industry is crucial. For sure. I mean, it's the people you know along the way. And I think for me, what's been so rewarding is the amount of people I've met over the last few years, just like with journalism. And I consider a lot of those people my friends too. And it's pretty cool to have those relationships established. I think the next thing too, just practice as much as you can. I mean, it could be as simple, and I know this may sound silly, but if you watch a game, write about it. Like, you don't have to get anything published to get better at it. Yeah. I mean, that's what I did growing up. And when I was kind of in my mix of freelancing and going to the Bee, I mean, I was covering games without pay, obviously, but I was writing about it. I was gaining practice. I was gaining experience. And so that's the advice I give, is just make sure you're always writing, always practicing, because you never know when it's going to pay off. And so I think those two things are the most important tips I would give out to any journalist who wants to start. But also, too, I think another tip I would have, just be passionate about what you do. I mean, it's really easy to tell the people who don't like their job and people who love their job. It's not hard to differentiate. And so I think just, obviously, like I said, you're not going to have good days every single day, but just be passionate about what you do, because having this job, I think, is a privilege, because not everyone gets to write about sports and get paid to do so. And so I think that's what is important to me, knowing that every day I wake up and I get to do really what I love. And I know it's not going to be perfect every day, but at the end of the day, I just have to appreciate what I do.
All right, y'all. So, on our first episode, Brandon and I, we bet a case of Gatorade on the Super Bowl. I took the Bengals, Brandon took the Rams, and we know how that worked out for me. So, Brandon, I'm a man of my word. Your case of Gatorade is, paid in full.
I would just like to say shout out to Aaron Donald and the whole Rams team. I dedicate that win to y'all. I told y'all defense wins championships, but just to get started, man, obviously, like I said, the Rams got it done. The Bengals had a great season. I think we all can't deny that. I mean, Joe Burrow did something I haven't seen in my whole years of watching, football. Went to the Super Bowl in the second year, but ultimately they just couldn't get the job done. And I guess my question to you guys are, do you guys see Joe Burrow and the Bengals getting back in the near future, or any time in the future at that point?
I got to start off by saying I'm a Joey B stan. I love me some Joe Burrow. I mean, his confidence, his swagger. I think he's easy to root for. He's just a great person. That being said, there's no chance the Bengals make it back anytime soon. I mean, look at how loaded the AFC is. I mean, you have this Kansas City Chiefs, who are insanely good. You have the Bills, who are going to want revenge. Obviously, you have the Chargers, which Herbert and I think he's coming out for revenge next year. And then who knows what's going to happen with the whole quarterback carousel. I mean, who knows if Deshaun Watson's going to be on the Texans? Who knows where he's going to end up? Who knows if Aaron Rodgers is going to end up in the AFC? Who knows if anybody is going to end up there? So I think the AFC is going to be really loaded. I think the NFC is honestly, if the Niners develop Trey Lance like I think they should and how they believe they will, I think it's going to be the Rams and 49ers for the next few years in the NFC.
Do I see him back in the what's like the near future? Like what's the time frame on that?
The timeline?
Like 5 years?
5 years.
5 years? I could see it because it's like, can you see it? Like obviously you don't know what's gonna happen in 5 years. And obviously, I have to mention the Bengals were the beneficiary of, the Titans. Derrick Henry was coming off, like he was out for like 10 weeks. He was rusty. Obviously not himself. They caught a few breaks on their way. They beat the Chiefs though. I will say, like they beat the Chiefs like fair and square.
America won because of that.
Exactly. Like they beat the Chiefs fair and square because they went to Kansas City and beat them. Who am I to say, like, I can't see them there? They slayed the dragon.
I mean, you have a good point, but I think, like Cam said, the AFC is just way too deep. Patrick Mahomes, I don't see him, like, diminishing anytime soon.
He's a fraud.
Lamar Jackson was hurt this year, so we didn't even get the chance to see him. And then my Raiders almost beat them, so.
Oh, just stop.
I'll do say I think the Bengals have a better chance to get there than the Ravens.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think Lamar Jackson's ever going to make it.
I think Lamar Jackson is a receiver away from them completing that offense. They've been missing. To me, I feel like they've dropped the ball these past few years in the draft because they can't get
weapons.
Not really, bro.
He's
not
the ultimate weapon himself.
Him, but you need other people surrounding you to win a
Marquise.
championship.
Hey, maybe he'll get AB and then they can complete.
If they get AB and they don't make the Super Bowl, I don't want to hear about it.
I'm just saying, man, that he's one receiver away. You add all these running backs. You get the Rashad Bateman
How
last
we
year.
say
That's a
that?
rookie, but like
the Bengals are getting no respect. They AFC North.
The Bengals need a line. He got sacked
once they get a line. What's stopping the Bengals from getting back?
I know, but when you think about that, like I know everyone says like, oh, they'll be back. But are they though? Like, I mean, seriously. I mean, you look at how stacked the AFC is, and I mean, the Bengals had a magical season. I think Joe Burrow is an amazing quarterback. He has that big game experience. I mean, I thought the Bengals were going to win the Super Bowl. But at the same time, like, those magical runs don't happen every year. I mean, especially with the same team. I mean, who knows? Maybe the Bengals turn into a powerhouse, but I think this is more of an outlier season than anything.
But, I mean, they got two bona fide number one receivers. They got a running back. They got Joey B. He's clutch.
I know, but I'm going to knock on wood here, but injuries happen. I mean, look what happened with the Ravens. I mean, and you never know what's going to happen. I mean, Joe Burrow tore his ACL 2 years ago. I mean, You just never know. I mean, those stars align, and you have to really take advantage of those opportunities. And the same could be said about the 49ers 2 years ago. I mean, they really got lucky at the right time. All their injuries that were plaguing them throughout the season really lined up, and the stars aligned, and they couldn't get it done. So it's hard to make it back to the Super Bowl. I know everyone says, "Oh, well, we're gonna be back." I mean, it's not that easy, and who knows? I hope the Bengals do. I mean, I like Joe Burrow as a person. I like him as a quarterback. I mean, they have a really fun team. They have Jamar Chase. They have Joe Mixon. They have Tyler Boyd. They have T. Higgins. They have a really fun team. I mean, they're a fun team to watch. But I just do not see them that magical season being replicated. I mean, just the teams are in there and how other teams in the AFC might get better. I mean, the Broncos, the Colts. I mean, those are teams that are quarterback really away. Possibly. So we'll see. I don't know.
Well, speaking of being back, what do you think are the chances that the Rams are back next year?
Well, ask me that question in a few weeks when we see if Donald's retiring or McVay's retiring. I don't think they will.
I don't think they are.
I don't know. Like I said, I think it's going to be the 49ers and Rams for the next few years. I think they really have each other's number, and they're pretty similar teams. I mean, they're built around their defense. And I mean, I think the 49ers' biggest wild card is Trey Lance. I mean, if Trey Lance turns into what people think he might be, I mean, everyone's saying, oh, Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes. I mean, if he turns into that level of a quarterback with the 49ers defense, I mean, who's going to stop him?
Matt Stafford, the Rams, they went all in. traded like what was it, 2 first-round picks for him,
Yeah.
and some more, and he got a Super Bowl ring. He has the numbers. A lot of people may argue. Didn't have the most success in Detroit, but I mean, come on, y'all, it's Detroit. But do you think this ring secures his legacy as a Hall of Famer?
No, 1,000 times over. Like when you think the Hall of Fame, like every Hall of Fame nowadays is just so dumb. Like it's like anybody can get in just by doing just something like average. Like they didn't even win the Super Bowl because of Matt Stafford. But when you when you say the name Matt Stafford, like when you say a Hall of Famer's name, you should be like, yes, Hall of Famer. When I say Matt Stafford's name, no, Hall of Fame is not even close in my head.
Well, I'll tell you someone who should be in the Hall of Fame. If Matt Stafford's going to be in the Hall of Fame, Matt Ryan has to be in the Hall of Fame too. I mean,
hold on. He hasn't even won a bowl.
Yes, but he has an MVP that Stafford does not, and he has better career stats than him.
Oh, but he come on, he fumbled away that bowl.
Yeah, it wasn't fully his fault. I mean, but
you gonna blame it on your coach?
But I'm saying, like, I know we have a Stafford fan in the house, but I mean, yes, Stafford Stafford's performance in the Super Bowl reminded me a lot of Patrick Mahomes, like 2 years ago.
Okay,
he didn't. I mean,
slow.
he threw 2 picks.
Yeah.
Both of them did. I mean, Stafford. I mean, obviously threw 3 touchdowns and had that play, but I mean, let's be honest. Cooper Kupp won them that game, and Aaron Donald won them that game. I mean, Stafford had that crazy throw. I mean, that was incredible. That no-look pass.
Yeah.
But I mean, in the first half, he didn't really do anything to win them that game. I mean, I don't know. I just think when you're talking about Hall of Famers, I think you mentioned it. The Hall of Fame, I think, has become really watered down. I mean, the MLB, you could be the best player of all time and still not make the Hall of Fame. And then you could be a top 50 player in your era and you can make the Hall of Fame. So I think it is watered down. I mean, I think it's the same with the NBA. I think we're going to talk about All-Star Game later, but like seeing those top 75 players, I mean, you can like see on Twitter. I think for me, what was funny is you like look at the thread of people who are on there, and you see like the ratio of like some guy who played like the 1940s like on the all-time list, or I don't know if that's 75 years. But it's like it's just become watered down, I think. So I think I don't like the MLB is too strict, but the NBA and NFL are too loose, I think.
Yeah, it's just my final thought is, and Brandon's gonna be so pissed at me, but the funny part about it for me is I just feel like RG3 is better all time than Matthew Stafford.
Oh okay, let's relax.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna just disregard like you didn't even say that, but
it's a tough argument. You can go either way.
That's like saying That's like saying Jimmy G's a Hall of Famer because he has 2 Super Bowls.
Right. Like, come on now. Let's be realistic. Well, I guess we need to talk about your favorite topic of the day, your Sacramento Kings, man. Like you said before when we was interviewing you, you remember like the whole day of when you got the trade, right?
Yeah. I mean, the amount of calls and texts I had when the Kings made that trade, I was on my walk, and I keep my walk every single morning is something that I kind of detox, and I don't really go on my phone. I try to just listen to music, relax, kind of think about what I want to do for the day. And I don't turn my phone off, or I don't like turn my phone on silent or anything, but I don't really check it that much when I'm on my walks. And I felt my pocket like buzz like multiple times, and I was like, oh, like did someone tweet at me or something, or like did someone text me? And I literally had like 20 text messages from people like I know, like saying what just happened. And of course I didn't see what actually happened, so I went on Twitter and saw it. And so I thought it was a weird day, man, really weird. And it was funny because like that morning, I don't know why, but I had like this weird feeling that something crazy was about to happen. I didn't know what it was, but just like it was just something like inside me. I was like, I think something weird's gonna happen today, and that's weird. So yeah.
All right, I just have to ask you, like, personally, what was, as a Kings, like somebody that's like watched them, been a fan of them, what do you think Vivek like had in mind when he chose Halliburton over Fox? Fox over Halliburton.
Well, I mean that's the rationale I had like when I first thought of it, but then I thought about it more, and I think the Pacers didn't want Fox. I don't think teams wanted Fox just because he has a large contract, and Tyrese Halliburton's under team control for the next 7 years, essentially, because he's on a rookie deal and he's a restricted free agent. So you can sign him to a supermax and sign him for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's what really intrigued teams. I just was stunned that they would trade Halliburton. I mean, I know people will say, yes, like they got Sabonis, and I think Sabonis is a good player. Like there's nothing that is formulated in my opinion that way. But I just didn't get the timing of the trade. I just didn't understand why they would do this now. I mean, they're a team that's 13th in the West, and they're actively pushing for the play-in game in a year that you should be tanking. This is one of the best top-heavy draft classes of all time. I mean, or not all time. I think that's a little far-fetched. But, I mean, in the modern – I mean, at least in the last few years, I mean, you saw some of the potential, I think, in 2018 when you had Luka, you had Trae Young, you had Marvin Bagley. And so that was, I think, kind of similar. Like, there's a lot of stars in the top few picks. Mm-hmm. And that's how I view this draft. I mean, you have Jaden Ivey from Purdue, who's really good. You have Chet from Gonzaga, who's been a star ever since he was in high school. You have Paul Banchero from Duke, who's was the number one pick probably for a lot of people coming into the year. And then you have, obviously, Jabari Smith, who's played like the number one pick at Auburn.
Yep. If
the Kings get any of those four guys, I think they can easily make the playoffs next year. But I just think I have a problem with them trying to prioritize win now. I mean, I think Kings fans are patient people. They're the most loyal people ever. If you're a Kings fan or you're dating a Kings fan, you know your partner's going to be loyal. But at the same time, it's like, I just don't understand how you justify that to the fan base when you're trading your best young asset in years, who's a fan favorite, who's likable, who's good. I mean, I've had stories. I mean, Tyrese Halliburton was at Christian Brothers High School the day before he got traded. I was at Christian Brothers the other day, and some people told me that, and I just didn't get it. I mean, he loved Sacramento, and I think he wanted to be a part of the change. I think that's what a lot of people had issue with, and that's why I tried to tell people. And so I just didn't understand the trade from that aspect. Like I said, the Kings had to make a splash. They did. I've said that for weeks. I know people say, well, they made a trade. Like, you asked for a trade. Like, be happy. Like, yes, like, I mean, I don't really care as much. Like, I think I'm more, like, media than a fan of the Kings now, just because I'm more objectively covering them. But at the same time, I just didn't get it. I really didn't. I mean, you have the best player, I think, in years. Fox definitely showed flashes of that when he was second or third year guy, and even last year. But, I mean, all I got to say is it's just funny how De'Aaron's ankle injury magically went away when they traded for Sabonis. I mean, he was injured for 8 or 9 games, and I don't want to speculate. I don't want to go into anything more, but I just don't know if they were ever going to fit together. I just don't think that could have coexisted for a while, and I think they really picked Halliburton's value.
But there were reports that the Pacers did not want Fox.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I didn't get it first. I mean, as someone who, I mean, obviously I think a lot of Kings fans would prefer them dealt Fox. Yeah. But that wasn't going to be possible. And I think I understood that after a few days. I think it was hard to justify to people that how could you trade someone who is a fan favorite, who's played so well. I mean, in his last game, he had 17 assists. How do you trade that? I mean, Sabonis has definitely made the Kings better right now. I mean, I think I speak for a lot of people too when I say the Kings are more exciting right now. They're more watchable. They're more fun. I mean, this team hasn't been fun since Rudy Gay, DeMarcus Cousins, and Rajon Rondo in 2016. That was a fun team. I enjoyed watching their games. Like, I would go out of my way to watch them play. Now it's like, oh, the Kings are on? Cool. Like, I'm going to go about my day.
Right.
Now, I mean, I think the Kings are watchable right now. And they're definitely a team I'll tune in to watch. I was shocked they made that trade because I didn't expect it. I mean, I've tweeted for a while that I think if the one guy you build around is Tyrese Halliburton. They didn't listen to me. And, they're pushing all their chips to the table. And I think if they don't make the playoffs by next year, I think it's a failure.
So, at this point, do they just try to draft around Sabonis, or do you try to shop in the offseason, like you said, if it doesn't work this season? And you don't make
I think there's a lot of avenues they can go. I mean, I don't understand why Rashawn Holmes is still on the roster. I think he's a good player, and he's a fan favorite too. But I just don't think he fits on the Kings right now anymore. I think Sabonis is obviously their starting 5, and Holmes just doesn't really – I don't think they can coexist. And so I think trading him in the offseason would be the smart route to go. But like I said, if it was me, I would try to tank and try to get that top 4 pick, because now you have something to work with. If you have De'Aaron Fox, Sabonis in the top 4 pick, that's something you can work with. I mean, I think then, at any point, any of those 4 guys would fit perfectly, I think. Because you have Jabari Smith, Sabonis, Jay Nivey, Sabonis. I mean, Jay Nivey and De'Aaron would be a deadly backcourt. I'd love to see that. And now you needed to, because you trade away Buddy Hield. Yeah. And they don't really have a true starting 2 guard. I mean, you have Davion maybe, you have Dante DiVincenzo. But you need, I think, someone a little bit better, because I think both those guys would be better off the bench.
Yeah, I agree. I think they have upside if they play it right. I mean, we've seen the Cavs pretty much build up a whole roster in like the matter of a season, pretty much.
Same with the Bulls.
Yeah,
the Bulls kind of followed that same framework. They trade for Vucevic, and then obviously the Kings aren't going to sign DeMar DeRozan. They're not going to sign Lonzo Ball, but they can make moves. I think they can make the playoffs next year. I've said it for the last like 10 years, and I really hope I'm right one of these years. But yeah, I mean, they needed to do something, bottom line, and that's what they did. So I mean, at the end of the day, Monte McNair put his stamp on the franchise. This is his team now. This is the mess he cleaned up from Vlade. And so if it works, he's a hero. If it doesn't work, he's getting fired. That's exactly what I said right after the trade happened.
Man, I want to just thank you, Cam, for just coming on, blessing us with the game you gave us, and just sharing the incredible stories that you had over your experience, too.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all for coming on and tuning in for another episode. This is your co-host, Brandon, and your co-host, Jordan, signing off for another episode, and we'll see you guys next time.
See you, y'all.